All right, folks, it's time to start. They don't put the good ones in our hymnals. Where's my piano player? David. You did. Good morning, y'all. Welcome. I'll fly away. We're going to do all 3 verses. Find a seat. We have plenty. Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. When the shadows of this life have gone, I'll fly away. Like a bird from prison bars is flown, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weird days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Hey, y'all good? All right, somebody own up. Hey, Vicky.
Good morning. How are y'all? Hear me okay? That's good. I'm going to talk this morning about loving your neighbor. Hey, Fred, even Fred, if Fred's your neighbor, you got to love Fred, even if he's your neighbor. So we're seeing a lot of not loving your neighbor in this world right now. In the United States, there's a lot of division for over many different things. Politics, religion, the way somebody looks, the way somebody acts, and I've got a little story to tell you about that. But I did a little research about loving your neighbor and what the Bible has to say about it. There are 42 different verses in the Bible that specifically mention love your neighbor. So you got to think it's pretty important that you do that. Also, we know it's pretty important because it's our second commandment in Matthew 22:39 says, second only to the first commandment, which you know that's to love God, is you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Also, Romans 13:10 says, love does no harm to your neighbor. Therefore, to love your neighbor is the fulfillment of the law. So those are just a couple of examples of what the Bible has to say, excuse me, about loving your neighbor. I found this story this morning. This story may or may not be true. It's on the internet, and we all know what you read on the internet may or may not be true. But this is a good story, and it could be true. I know a lot of examples of this very thing. This guy says, I keep a mental list of the reasons I can't stand the guy next door. It's a long list. It starts with his ridiculous, whisper-quiet electric car and ends with the collection of flags he flies that aren't the stars and stripes. For 3 years, the only thing I've wanted to build between our houses is a 10-foot tall spiked fence. Then last night I grabbed my heaviest toolbox, marched right into his property in the middle of a blizzard, and became a traitor to my own side. My name is Art. I'm 74 years old. I did my time in the service, buried the love of my life 30 years ago, and raised a son who now worries about me living alone. My world has shrunk to this house, this yard. This is my territory. My lawn is my pride. I cut it in perfect diagonal stripes. My American flag, the one I raise every morning and lower every evening, is my creed, and the Don't Tread on Me sign, hammered into the frozen dirt, is my final non-negotiable statement. My neighbor, Liam, has statements of his own. His expensive electric car turns into the driveway when a V8 truck auto-roar. He's a work-from-home something or other. I just see a man in his late 30s who gets packages delivered every single day. He has a rainbow flag that ripples next to his annoying wind chimes. His front bumper has a sticker that says coexist, which I've always found hilarious, since in 3 years the man has never so much as made eye contact with me. We were two Americans, separated by about 20 feet of crabgrass and a very neat property line. We were in a Cold War. His yard sign, the one about science and love, were his battle flags. Mine were my shields. I didn't just like him, I distrusted him. He represented everything I thought was making this country soft, weak, and unrecognizable. And I'm sure he felt the same way about me. I was the grumpy old dinosaur on his lawn. The feud of ours was silent. It was fought in many things. He let the native pollinators, which used to call them weeds, creep over to my side. I'd make sure to fire up my gas-powered leaf blower at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. He'd have parties with people who all looked and talked just like him. I'd sit on my porch cleaning my old fishing gear just to make sure he saw me. We were neighbors, but we weren't a community. We were a headline, a statistic, the divided states of America, right there in a suburb outside Cleveland. Then came the blizzard. This wasn't just snow, this was a polar vortex, the kind of lake effect monster that erases the world, the kind of storm that makes the power grid creak and whine. The news called it a once-in-a-generation storm, which is the third one we've had in the last 5 years. By 8 p.m., a foot of heavy, wet snow had already buried everything It was beautiful in a terrifying way. I had buried his love is love sign and my don't tread on me sign under the same impartial blanket of white. I was warm, I had my fireplace going, a cup of instant coffee in my hand, and the news on full blast. That's when I saw a flicker of light next door. It was Liam. He was outside in that gale, the wind whipping his thin jacket. His flashlight beam was cutting weakly through the swirling snow. He was on his knees, wrestling with the lid of his outdoor heating unit. The big metal box was silent. I watched him for 10 minutes. I'm not proud of what I felt. It was grim, cold satisfaction. Serves him right, I thought. All that fancy tech, and he can't even keep his heat on. Probably needs an app for that. He kicked the metal casing, a pathetic little thud in the howling wind. He looked defeated. He went back inside. I took another sip of coffee, but then I saw a silhouette in his living room window. It wasn't him. It was small, a child's face pressed right against the cold glass. I could see her breath fogging it up. A little girl in pink pajamas. Something in my gut twisted. It wasn't politics. It wasn't pity. It was simpler than that. It was an echo of my old man, a man who built engines, with his bare hands, yelling in my ear from 50 years ago, "You don't let a neighbor's kid go cold," period. Cursing the snow, cursing him, cursing my own aching knees, I pulled on my old field jacket and my heavy-duty boots. I went to the garage and grabbed the heavy steel toolbox, the one my father gave me, the one who took with tools that have real weight and not the plastic junk they sell now. I didn't go out the front door. I went out the back, through the deep drift and crossed the property line. I felt like a trespasser, a defector in the no man's land between our worlds. He must have heard the crunch of my boots. The porch light snapped on. Liam opened the door, his wife standing behind him, holding the little girl in the pink pajamas. He looked at me, not just with confusion, but with genuine suspicion, like I was holding a weapon, not a toolbox. "It's the igniter," I grunted. I didn't have time for greetings. They always fail when it gets cold, or your pilot light goes out. He just stared, completely dumbfounded. "Move," I said. I pushed past him, knelt in the snow that was already a foot deep, and got to work, my fingers stiff and fat with arthritis, fumbled with the screws, but that knew the machinery. It was an older gas unit, thank God, simple, reliable. He held the flashlight over my shoulder. His head was shaking. We didn't talk about the election. We didn't talk about the news. He didn't ask me why I was there. I didn't ask him why he hadn't cleaned the filter in a year. We just existed in the shared miserable reality of a broken machine and a biting, relentless wind. 20 minutes later, after thawing a sensor and relighting the pilot, I heard the satisfying whoosh of the furnace kicking back to life. A blast of warm, dry air puffed out of the exhaust. I got to my feet, my knees cracking like gunfire. "I don't know what to say," Liam stammered. The wife was crying, just quiet tears. "Thank you. Please come in. Let my wife make you some tea or coffee." "I'm fine," I cut him off, gathered my tools, keep the exhaust fit clear of snow or you'll be dead by morning from the carbon monoxide. I turned and walked back. I didn't look back. I crossed the invisible line to my own house, the snow already covering my tracks. The next morning, the world was silent and white. My son, who lives in California, sent me a text. It was a screenshot from our little town's Facebook group. The post was anonymous. "I'm not going to use names, and I'm crying too hard to write this very well, but I need to post this. My family and I have been in a 3-year silent war with our neighbor. We disagree on, well, everything. Our yard signs are practically yelling at each other 24/7. I've judged him, I've hated him, I've taught my daughter that he's not a nice man. Last night, in the middle of the blizzard, our heat died. My little girl was terrified and freezing, and the man who came in that storm, the man that silently feuded for years, knelt in the snow for 20 minutes to fix it. He didn't say a word, he just fixed it, and he left. He saved us. I've been sitting here all morning looking at this. Don't tread on me. Looking at this don't tread on me sign. I finally understand what it means. I I take care of my own, and last night he decided I was one of his own. Maybe we're not the signs we put in our yards. Maybe we're just neighbors who get cold. I'm going to take him some cookies. I know he'll probably throw them in the trash, and then I'm going to shovel his driveway. God bless you, neighbor. The post had hundreds of likes and loves, and the comments, oh, the comments. That's my neighbor, too, the one with the truck I've always complained about. I dropped off a casserole for the lady down the street. Her politics make my skin crawl. She opened the door, burst into tears, and said she hadn't spoken to another human in 3 days. This is it. This is the America I know, not the garbage on TV. Maybe we should all turn off the news and just check on one person. The fence between our houses is still there. My flag is flying. His is too. Nothing's changed, but everything has. We're not friends. We'll never vote for the same person. We'll probably never go out to dinner together. But a blizzard doesn't care who you voted for. A broken furnace is a broken furnace, and a little girl in pink pajamas is cold. We were so busy fighting for the soul of the country, we forgot the first rule of being one. You show up for your neighbor, not because they're on your side. I'll leave you with this. Do things for people, not because of who or what they do in return, but because of who you are. That's why we do things for our neighbor. So, Nate, will you pray?
Lord, we come to you this morning and we thank you for this devotional and for the reminder that we need to truly love our neighbors and try to bring them to you, Lord. Help us to do that every day. We love you. We ask you to help us to have a really wonderful time together and worship and be with us as we go throughout this